Yes, sir.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. Let me get the vehicle information. I'm going to pull it up here on my end. Your make and model of the vehicle with the engine size, okay?
It's a 2000 Chevy Silverado 5.3.
Okay, perfect. So tell me what's going on.
See, it won't, like, I turn the key forward, like, it won't crank or anything. I thought it was a starter, so I bought a new starter. I put on the new starter and everything, and still does the same thing. I bought the new relay, starter relay, and it still does the same thing. And then I saw a video where a guy puts a piece of wire on the actual relay on a number 87 pin and puts its power in the battery and it'll crank, and that's the way I've been starting the truck.
How come? So it starts and runs when you jump at that starter relay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look here. So one possible cause, you could have either an issue with that ignition switch, the crank fuse in the fuse block could be blown, or we could have an issue with the park neutral position switch, which is pretty common. And that'll prevent terminal number 85 of the starter relay from getting power. So all you have to do is just, if you were to jumper 30 and 87, it'll just bypass the relay and it'll send power down to the starter.
Okay.
So it's up to you. What I would probably do, I would go to the starter relay and I would check pin 85 for battery voltage when an assistant turns the key to the start position. If there is no power on pin 85, you can go to the crank fuse in the fuse block and see if the crank fuse gets power. Make sure the fuse is good, and then make sure it gets power and the key's in the start position. If it does, really the only thing between the crank fuse and pin 85 of the starter relay is going to be your park neutral position switch on the transmission. And then at that point, you could go down to the park neutral position switch. You could jump it or just replace it and see if that does the trick.
It's the park, what's it called?
It's called a park neutral position switch, or basically it's like a transmission range sensor.
Uh-huh.
It's on the left side of the transmission.
Well, see, I replaced that transmission like I want to say like a month and a half ago.
Okay. Well, my answer still remains the same. I think you're still gonna, I would still check the starting circuit and still check for power to pin 85. And if we're still missing power at pin 85, then I would still head this direction. But if you got power on pin 85 when the key's in the start position, I suppose maybe, I don't know how you're jumping it, but maybe pin 30 doesn't have power, or maybe pin 86 doesn't have a ground. So do you know what pins you're jumping at the starter relay?
It's pin 87, the one I'm jumping.
Okay, so you're where are you getting power from? Is it pin 30, or are you just manually supplying power yourself to pin 87?
Yes, I'm manually supplying power to pin 87.
Okay.
Battery.
Okay, so if you remove that starter relay and you check the female cavities for power, do any of the other three relays have battery voltage, have constant battery voltage all the time?
I haven't checked that, but
okay, so that'll be your next step. So I don't think this is going to be the case, but pin number 30 should have power all the time from ignition A, as an Apple, ignition A fuse. It's a 40 amp fuse under the hood in the engine wiring harness junction block. I thought that fuse powered up the ignition switch. So if the engine starts and runs when you jumper this, I thought that fuse would be good, but just double check it.
Okay.
All right.
So pin 30 is the one that has to have constant power at all times.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and check that.
So I think that'd be your best bet. And then if you have any questions, you can just let me know. I'll be happy to help out. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.